In this video, we are going to look at the properties of matter, so both physical and chemical properties. And we are also going to look at the 5 main kind of signs that you can tell that a chemical reaction has happened. All right, so properties of matter, okay? So what a property of matter is, it's relatively easy. It is just a distinguishing characteristic, okay? So what that means, basically, is these properties can distinguish between different elements, different compounds, different whatever, okay? So if you were trying to tell, if you had a lab and you had an unknown substance in your lab, you're going to try and figure out what that substance is. You need to know the properties of that substance. You need to be able to figure out how to identify the substance of your unknown, right? All right, so we need to look at these distinguishing characteristics. So two main ways, right? There's 2 main branches of properties. You have your physical properties and you have your chemical properties, okay? Oh goodness, we'll try and see if we can fit everything on this page, okay? All right, so physical properties are basically any property that can be observed without changing the material itself. Okay, so things you can see, things you can smell, just something you can observe about the substance that you're talking about without doing anything to it. Okay, so physical would be observed without changing it. A fun fact, right? So in science, we love to abbreviate everything. This little triangle is delta. Delta means change. It's me shorthanding. I shorthand everything, okay? So without, W/ is with. Delta is change. We'll get used to it. It'll be fun. Okay, so any physical property is going to be something you can observe about the substance without changing it. Chemical is going to be the exact opposite. Okay, so chemical would tell you something about how that substance changed. Like, is it going to change or is it going to resist change? Is it going to catch on fire or will it resist catching on fire? Okay, so it will basically tell if the matter will change or if it resists change. All right, so the most common ones, okay, things about physical property would be its actual physical state. So is it a solid, a liquid, or a gas? Okay, that would be a property you could look at and say, oh, it's solid water, it's an ice cube. It's liquid water, it's water. Okay, all right, so it's physical state. You can look at melting or boiling points, right? So like when solid water becomes liquid, that temperature doesn't change. That's a physical property about water itself, is that it will melt at 0 degrees Celsius or that it will freeze at 0 degrees Celsius, okay? What else? Hardness. So a lot of times with like gems or, diamonds or whatever, they categorize a lot of things by their hardness, metals especially. You have color, density, running out of space here, conductivity. So that means like, will this substance conduct electricity? Will it conduct heat? Or will it not? That's a physical property about the substance itself. All right, so just a note about physical properties is that they can change, right? So like your physical state can change between a solid and a liquid or a liquid to a gas. Again, imagine an ice cube melting, right? So the physical state of that ice cube could change from a solid to a liquid if it melted, but the actual matter of that ice cube is still water. Nothing changed about the actual, molecules inside that ice cube, all right? So it still retains its actual identity as whatever the matter was, right? Water, it was H2O when it was frozen, and it was H2O when it was a liquid. So it does not change its identity, even if, like, its physical state changes. That can be a trick question that they like to throw at you, okay? So just be wary of that. All right, chemical changes, or chemical properties, okay? Chemical properties are going to be things like reactivity. Okay, so will it react with something? Will it not react with something? So an actual example of that would be, so if you have copper and gold, all right, and you expose them both to air, one of them is going to have a chemical change. One of them is going to have a chemical property where it will react with the air. One of them is not going to react with the air. So copper, right? Copper will react with the air. It does rust. Okay, so rusting is some kind of reaction is happening. And the Statue of Liberty is green, right? It's not like an actual, what we would think is a copper color, because it's reacted with the oxygen in the air. Okay, it's oxidized. Fun, whatever. It has rusted. Okay, gold, on the other hand, right? Gold does not react with the oxygen in the air. It will resist reacting, which is why one of the really good reasons we use gold for jewelry, because it's not going to, rust on your neck or your fingers or your ears. Okay, all right. Reactivity. Is it flammable? Okay, so is it going to burst into flame or not? Another word we use is combustible. Will it combust? Combustibility. Okay. Is it corrosive? Like an acid? Toxicity? Aversity? So just in general, right? Your chemical properties are going to be things that have some kind of chemical reaction, typically. Okay. All right, so that's pretty good, hopefully, for properties of matter, physical properties versus chemical properties. And then just really quickly, how to tell if there's actually been a chemical reaction, okay? Again, we abbreviate everything, okay? So chem, RXN, reaction, all right? We love saving time, okay? So there are 5 main ways to tell if you have a chemical reaction, which will help you determine if you have, what those chemical properties are of that substance. So number 1 would be if bubbles form, aka you formed a gas, okay? Number 2 would be a change in color. 3 would be a change in temp, a change in odor, or you form a precipitate, which we abbreviate as PPT, precipitate. Those abbreviations in chem, okay, you're gonna love them. And what a precipitate is not what we think about when you say, like, there's precipitation outside. Okay, a precipitate is if you have in lab 2 liquids and you combine the liquids together and then you get a solid in your product, okay? So a precipitate would be you form a solid versus bubbles forming would be you made a gas. Good ways to check and see what those chemical properties are, if a chem reaction has happened, and your physical and chemical properties. Yay! Good luck.